What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of G Nation Inside Sports. And tonight I'm excited to have my guest, Zion Zenith and Hit Squad Productions with me for a very important topic tonight. We're going to talk about the head coach or former defensive coordinator for the New York Football Giants for the past 2 seasons. Now, as we all know, Patrick Graham was interviewed for a second time earlier today for 9 hours at the Minnesota Vikings. Now, a 9-hour interview is the most extensive interview I've ever heard of in my life for a football position. Unless you applying to be a brain surgeon or an astronaut, or a 9-hour interview, my guy, 9 hours? That's a whole shift and an hour overtime. 9 hours?
And thank you for having me on, Lou. And think about it, like some interview coaches, they do have a long process of an interview, but they come back the next day. You know, they had that man in the room or walking him around for 9 full hours.
That's a long time.
That's a long time, yeah.
Long time. And thank you for having me on, Lou.
Oh, no problem, guys.
Appreciate that, bro.
Yeah, you guys make sure you subscribe to Hit Squad and Zion Zenith, 2 good content creators.
Thank you.
Always hitting you with Giants updates, news, roster reports, all things Giants. We work together a lot. We are the Big Blue Crew.
Let's get it.
So
Fun
make
life.
sure you don't hesitate to hit that like button, that subscribe button. Leave your comments, thoughts, opinions, and ideas in the comment section below, and we will get back to you with them. But back to the head coach search. As we all know, Brian Flores is suing the NFL along with allegations made about racial inequality in the hiring processes of the head coaches. And in that lawsuit, he is including the Miami Dolphins, the Denver Broncos, and alleging that the interview that he had with the New York Giants was a sham. Now, I will say this. Co-owner John Mara reached out to Flores hours after firing Judge, before he even hired a general manager, which would indicate to me that he had a real interest in Flores. Now, one of the main things we always say is that Mara gets in his own way. He oversteps his bounds and he does too much. So he finally hires a GM and listens and says, I'm going to give the GM carte blanche and let him hire his guy. As we all know, Joe Shane came from the Buffalo Bills and he worked with Brian Daboll. So it's a no-brainer that he wanted his guy, Brian Daboll. Does that make Mara racist? Does that make it unequal hiring practices? I can't say that points to it. Are there unequal and unjust practices in the NFL? I'm sure there is. Is there a way to find out if what he's saying has any merit? I'm sure there is. And I'm sure that with the investigation, they'll get down to the bottom of it, or they'll cover it up, one or the other. But there will be some light shed on this in one way or another. But I wanted to touch on something, and I want to get you guys' opinions on this. But I'm going to show something.
Let's get it.
Now, again, we said that this man was interviewed for 9 hours. This was his second interview, because he interviewed with them Saturday. They brought him back Tuesday for a second interview, a 9-hour interview. During the course of this interview is when the news broke of Brian Flores' lawsuit. Now, a few hours ago, reports came out that Jim Harbaugh was coming down to the Minnesota Vikings to allegedly get hired for the job.
Real interesting.
Says, I'm going to read the whole thing, but there's a highlighted part that's very interesting, so I'll read that first. Harbaugh was not in his office at Schembechler Hall this afternoon Other sources told the Wolverine.com that while he didn't address the team, he did say some goodbyes and thank yous yesterday. Now, Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh is headed to Minnesota for a Wednesday interview, but multiple sources say it's a formality. Harbaugh heads there planning to sign a deal to become the NFL Vikings head coach. Now, why would you interview a man for 9 hours if you're already hiring somebody else the next day?
Yeah.
Why would you put somebody through so rigorous of an interview if that's not even the guy you're hiring? And also, wouldn't that give credence to the allegations being made by Brian Flores? What's your take on that?
Yeah. For me, man, I mean, it definitely draws makes me raise my eyebrow a little bit. I mean, I know that it's a touchy subject, but we all know how the NFL is. We all know these owners. I mean, I'll just say it now, these old white owners. We know how they operate, unfortunately. Some show it more than others. I'm not going to say that Mara is a racist or anything like that. And that's a whole other conversation. But in terms of Jim Harbaugh, for me, man, I agree with you. Why would you interview Patrick Graham for 9 hours? That's a long time. Like you said, that's a shift and an hour extra of overtime. If he's not your guy, that's not fair to Patrick Graham. Honestly, to me, that is a disgrace if that is true and Patrick Graham doesn't get the job. For me, man, I mean, I think that's a disgrace. You know, I think that really does tell you where the league is at. And I'm not saying that Graham or Flores are the first or last that this will happen to or has happened to. I mean, you could look at the Texans and how they operate. You can look at other organizations and see how they operate. And again, I know it's a very touchy subject, but man, it really makes you think. And especially with this now, because this article is written by someone that's very credible. Very credible. And when I did my extensive search on this guy, he has hit the nail on a lot of things in regards to, the Wolverines. He is their senior editor. He has been spot on almost every time. So why would he make this article if this is not true? This is something that, I mean, and I'm not in the journalism world. I'm not going to act like it. But this is something that, if this is not true, looks horrible on a reporter. But this is very telling, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, I like to follow that by just saying good points hit, and I agree with them. Yeah, the NFL, near the top, it's focused on who gets them the most money, and the most money is the white man. You know what I'm saying? The rich old white man. And if you look around the league, that's majority of the league is owners or rich old white man. You know what I'm saying? But long story short, yeah, I feel sorry for Patrick Graham to sit in the interview for 9 hours, because I didn't hear about this news until you guys broke it to me right now before getting on, and I thank you for that, because I was looking at the whole Brian Flores thing and about a coach texting the wrong Brian and all of that kind of things, and I was looking at Patrick Graham in the sense of he can't sue us because I'm not a lawyer, but if I was the Giants lawyers, I'll clap back saying like, no, we interviewed Patrick Graham before we interviewed any coach. So technically we obeyed the Rooney Rule. So you guys can't come with us. But then this thing breaks about Harbaugh, and now it adds more. As Giants fans, I wouldn't be concerned about us getting sued, but it adds more credibility to what Brian Flores is saying. And I wasn't looking at that Brian Flores, that whole sue thing as a Giants fan and mad at him. I was really, I keep open mind to everything. So I want to see how this whole thing plays out. And
well,
now,
not only did we interview Patrick Graham before that, we also interviewed Leslie Frazier. So we satisfied the Rooney Rule. But go ahead.
And exactly, and also too, I love, it's a touchy subject, but I love that we have people willing to risk it out on the line. You know what I'm saying? Like Colin Kaepernick, man, a guy took his damn team to the playoffs, and he risked his whole career to I know that's a touchy subject in itself, and trust me, I have family friends that served in the military, and I know veterans, so I'm not trying to disrespect the military when I talk about Colin Kaepernick, but it's a touchy subject no matter where you go. But I love the fact that this is now it needs to gain more attention, and it needs to be addressed because of the fact that it's not right. It's not right at all.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna break some news.
Let's get it. Oh, it's fun to break some news.
This guy here, Kwesi Adofo, the new general manager of the Minnesota Vikings, has expressed an admiration for Patrick Graham and his work ethic and his style of defense and the way he's been able to get defenses to produce everywhere that he's been. And of course, that is the man who he interviewed with for 9 hours, as well as the owners. But the question is, who has the ultimate say? Is it Kwesi Adofo, or is it the owners? Is he going to be able to do his job and hire the head coach he wants for his vision, or will it be the owner's decision? Now, with this article that broke from the Wolverine, Michigan's players are in wait and see mode, as are the coaches. At least a few are expected to join Harbaugh in Minnesota. Everyone wondering if they'll have a job much longer. A source in the building said, the team will be notified of everything on Thursday. So, if the Wolverines are going to get notified as to if they still have a head coach, they'll be notified on Thursday. He's interviewing on Wednesday, but they're already saying that it was just a formality, that he's going down there to sign a deal. So why interview this man for 9 hours? Somewhere the information is wrong, or Brian Flores is telling the truth. So I'm going to want to believe that the sport that I love is not as infected with this nasty ass racism disease that the rest of the world is infected with. Facts. And I'm gonna hope that the Minnesota Vikings make the right decision here. And I'm not saying that one coach is better than the other, but if you made this man come out here for 9 hours and you interviewed this man with the intentions of hiring somebody else fully, then shame on you. Shame on the owners. Shame on everybody who was involved in it and knew about it. And how the hell can you sleep at night? Yeah. These are people. These are human beings. These are people with families, kids, wives, mothers, daughters, children, sisters, brothers.
Facts.
Yep.
This is not a fucking hen of chickens, people. These are humans. So when I see stuff like this, you know what? I'm gonna play it.
Jim Harbaugh to leave Michigan football for the NFL.
It's come to this, apparently. Michigan football will be searching for a new head coach in the month of February, it seems. According to the Wolverine.com's Chris Ballas, Jim Harbaugh will be offered the Minnesota Vikings job and will accept it when offered. Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh is headed to Minnesota for a Wednesday interview, but multiple sources say it's a formality. Harbaugh heads there planning to sign a deal to become the NFL Vikings head coach. Harbaugh was not in his office at Schembechler Hall today. Other sources told the Wolverine.com that while he didn't address the team, he did say some goodbyes and thank yous yesterday. Until then, it had been business as usual, with Harbaugh recruiting and making his spring schedule. This leaves the Wolverines in something of a quandary. While the NFL coaching cycle does play out this late in the season, given that its season is still ongoing with the Super Bowl forthcoming, college football wraps things up in early January. Many of the coaching vacancies are filled by mid-December, since the early signing period takes place in the middle of the month. Barring an incredible contingency plan, Harbaugh's late departure not only leaves the maize and blue in the lurch, but also, potentially, the current assistant coaches, depending on what they decide to do, as well as the players currently on the roster. While we have to wait and see what actually happens, more and more it appears the Wolverines will be looking for a new head coach for the first time in 8 years.
So, with that being said, I'm gonna share one more thing here.
Yeah, just going to
pose the
some
question
stuff
to the panel and let you guys tell me what you think.
Let's get it.
Now, do you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You know, audible here. We talked earlier about Burrow's attire, specifically his chain. Will Jim Harbaugh's attire be changing from the maize and blue to purple and gold, or aqua and orange? All of a sudden and out of nowhere. And look, Harbaugh had been trying. He doesn't have an agent per se. He'd been trying to get his name into the mix, Chris, with some of these vacancies.
Yeah,
and nobody
I know.
bit.
Right.
Saturday, the Vikings bit. Saturday with new GM Kwesi Adofo Mensah, who spent 2 years with Harbaugh in San Francisco, and the fact that new GM who spent time with Harbaugh in San Francisco would be willing to have him interviewed by the Vikings cuts against the narrative that Harbaugh's some horrible person that no one can deal with. Although we know he's intense and he's quirky and he can be goofy at times. The idea that it was him versus the front office, that if it was, there's one guy in the front office who liked him enough to say, let's talk to him about coaching the Vikings. Then once that bubbles up, Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins and a huge Michigan benefactor, who has already said, I'm not going to be the person to hire Jim Harbaugh away from Michigan. There are reports out there that if he's leaving anyway, if he's going anyway, I'm going to go try to get him.
I know. To be interested to see where it goes. I mean, listen, I would love if he went to your Vikings. Then I could root against them so hard every week. This will be amazing. And then you could deal with having to talk about your favorite coach, Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, good luck with those interviews. That'll go good. I mean, listen, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's a good coach. He knows how to organize. His teams play tough. There's no doubt. I'm not going to hate on that aspect. He's also supposed to be an offensive coach. His offenses stink, you know, and the new GM in Minnesota, you know, yeah, when he was in San Francisco, I doubt he really had to deal with Harbaugh on a day-to-day basis. So that's what I would say to the Vikings too. Like, buyer beware. There's a reason nobody wants to deal with the guy after 3 or 4 years. So again, I don't know what to say there. I'm not shocked that we're in this conversation, but he certainly wouldn't be leading my list. I know that.
And I think the concern is they've just gone from an in-your-face, critical, aggressive coach. You know, teams like to go the other way.
Yeah, to go to an in-your-face, more aggressive coach. Right. Yes, that'll be good. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Tell your dad I said hi.
You want to win a Super Bowl or you don't. 44-19-1. He took a 6-10 team to the brink of the Super Bowl and to the Super Bowl the next year. Fascinating. And fascinating if that's his path to Miami, if Stephen Ross will decide to go ahead and hire him and bring him down there. But between the AFC and the NFC right now, based on what we've seen this season, the path to the Super Bowl is a little bit easier if you go to the NFC.
All hail Nathan Chance.
Now, they seem to have a difference of opinion, right? One said he wouldn't hire him. The other one thinks that he's going to get hired, or at least at Miami, if not at Minnesota. The Vikings completed an interview with the Giants defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham, on Tuesday at the Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. He first met with the Vikings on Saturday. Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell and defensive coordinator Raheem Morris, and the University of Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh are the other candidates getting second interviews with the team. Harbaugh's interview is set for Wednesday morning. '49ers defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans removed his name from consideration for the job on Monday. Graham has spent the past 2 seasons as the defensive coordinator of the Giants and has 13 years experience coaching in the NFL. He spent 1 year with Brian Flores as the defensive coordinator with the Dolphins in 2019. New Giants head coach Brian Daboll has discussed keeping Graham on his staff if Graham doesn't get a job in Minnesota. So with that, I pose the question to you guys. Who do you think will be the next head coach of the Minnesota Vikings? Will it be Patrick Graham? Or will it be Jim Harbaugh, in light of everything that's happened with Brian Flores and now this article breaking before he even comes back for his second interview? Because as I found this article, I looked for it a second time and could not find it. I called Hit Squad, told him to look for it. He looked for it. He found it. As we decided to do this video, these posts started being removed. Mm-hmm. So were they worried about litigation from posting too early and giving credence to his allegations? Or was it false information? Because you got to think that if a man is interviewed for 9 hours, he's got to be a shoo-in for the job.
That's true, but as I was went into Twitter for news, and I was just looking at NFL news about the situation, about Jim Harbaugh in general, all signs are pointing to Vikings are gonna hire him by tomorrow and make that announcement by tomorrow. There's a chance that he might go to Miami, but that's highly unlikely. The fact that they interviewed Patrick Graham for 9 hours and they still go ahead and hire Jim Harbaugh, that's just absolutely crazy. And if you think about it too, it's like if I was a GM for the Vikings, those are two great coaches. But if I was to choose Jim Harbaugh, I wouldn't make the guy interview for 9 hours. So that's just wrong right there. And is me personally, as I scroll through all these news and stuff like that, it seems to be that even Vikings fans are tweeting, when is this deal done? It seems to be like multiple sources are picking up on it. So as the night goes on and as we get to early tomorrow, Jim Harbaugh could be the Vikings head coach. And that's keep a guy for 9 hours and don't get what are you guys talking about then?
So why would they be reporting to the Wolverines? They'll find out by Thursday. Because if he gets hired tomorrow, they'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah. So
no, you're absolutely right.
That's true.
I think Zion made some. Excuse me. I think Zion made some good points. I mean, why interview the man for 9 hours if that's not your guy?
Yeah.
Why are these? And there were some articles I saved, and within an hour they were gone. But I was able to do my research into the guy that made the article, and again, he's a credible source. With 90% of the Wolverines topics and news and rumors, he is on point. He is accurate. He is their senior editor. And if this is true, I mean, man, it really looks bad for the league, because who else does this happen to?
Yeah.
I mean, that's sad. And we could go back and forth on the Rooney Rule. I think it has good intentions, but I think that it also does more harm than good. And they started tweaking it. There's a lot
of I know it's a touchy subject, but I think needs to be said. And you made good points and amazing points. There's a lot of loopholes.
Yeah, that's the problem. And actually, one of my closest friends is a diehard Texans fan. I talk to him every day, especially with the Deshaun Watson stuff, because he's, I'm talking like since birth, a Texans fan. And
that's for another video.
He fully believes and he's told me people in the Texans fan base fully believe that they hired David Culley to get those those 2 third-round picks, and then fired them once they were able to get those picks. I'm not saying that's true. I'm not a Texans fan. I'm not going to act like it. But there's loopholes in this rule that a lot of teams are taking advantage of.
I've posed this question to my guest. Both of them gave their take. I'm going to pose this question to you, the viewer. Please comment in the comment section below and let me know who you think will be announced as the next head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. Will it be Patrick Graham? Will it be Jim Harbaugh? In lieu of all of these allegations and lawsuits, I'm going to let you know who I think is going to be announced as the next head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. And that is that man right there. Because I do not believe that Roger Goodell is going to allow this lawsuit to grow legs and end up in the courtroom. I think he's going to smite it. I think he's going to smash it in its inception by forcing the Minnesota Vikings to hire Patrick Graham. And in doing so, we will get a third-round compensatory pick this season and one next season, and we will end up hiring Don Wink Martindale as our defensive coordinator. Remember, you heard it here first on G Nation Inside Sports. And thank you to my guest, Zion Zenith.
Thank you so much for having me on, bro.
And
Thank you,
time,
man.
guys.
Thank you.
As always,